episode of the NBA Outlet Preview Series presented by OTGBasketball.com. Follow OTG on Twitter at OTGBasketball. I'm your host, Nick Fay. With us again, special guest, OTG writer Kory Waldron. What's good, Kory?
Hey, Nick. Hey, Harris. Thanks for having me on, guys.
No problem, Kory. How you doing, Harris?
I'm doing great. Again, continuous support of the podcast. We appreciate all the writers and everybody who's been a part of this process. We're getting down now to the top 7. And today we look at our 7th-ranked team, the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, Celtics are coming in at number 7. They had a nice offseason. You know, a lot of people are expecting them to take a jump this year. What do you think about this ranking, Kory? 7 good?
7's real good. And it would have been a lot better if they had closed that deal over Kevin Durant.
Yeah, they were one of the teams that was close with Durant. I almost would probably like it more if he went to Boston instead of Golden State just because it would balance out the league a little bit better. But I think 7's a good ranking. Getting Al Horford's definitely a good consolation prize.
They went heavily after Kevin Durant, just like several teams did, and were unable to reel in the free agent that ended up signing with Golden State, as we know. So I'm high on Brad Stevens. I think he's the best young coach in basketball. He took 2 Butler teams to the national championship in college that had no business being there talent-wise. Again, Hayward was there, an NBA player, and also Shelvin Mack. But a lot of players give him a lot of credit for how far they've gone in their careers. So give a lot of credit to Brad Stevens and what he's done to this young team that was in shambles after the Big Three left it. They won 25 games in 2014. They won 40 and 15, and now 48 last year, and they're ready to take this next jump. I like them at 7. I think they're in contention for that 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, and they're going to beat a lot of Western Conference teams too. So I think this is a fair ranking at number 7 for the young Celtics.
Yeah, we already touched on a little bit the offseason moves. You know, we said they didn't get Durant, but they did sign Al Horford, and they did draft Jaylen Brown with the Nets pick. What do you guys think of the offseason moves? You know, how do you think Horford's going to fit with this team?
I think they needed some more offense with that current lineup. Amir Johnson isn't very offensively gifted, as we know. Jaron Sullinger was okay, and they lost him. But Al Horford's a stretch forward. He can play center, obviously, because he has with Atlanta. And, he's a winner. He won 2 national titles for the Florida Gators in college. And he has playoff experience. And he's just another veteran presence on that roster. And I really liked they got Gerald Green. He's going to be coming off the bench. He's a high flyer. We know he can dunk. And also Demetrius Jackson, they picked him up in the 2nd round of this draft. I think he's going to be pretty solid too. He looked really good in the summer league, scoring-wise. And, of course, I think Jaylen Brown is going to be I think he's going to be big time too for this current year.
Yeah, I think Brown will have a more immediate impact than people think. I think he'll come in and get minutes right away. I also think Al Horford's a perfect fit for the Brad Stevens type of team. High basketball IQ, can make from the big man position, will help him defensively. He's not the craziest shot blocker, but he knows how to play defense. All about that positioning.
Al Horford is one of the most underrated players in the NBA, in my opinion. He's been an all-star 4 times in 9 years. And what's interesting about him is he was an all-star in 2010, 2011, then wasn't an all-star for 3 years. 2 of those 3 years he was hurt. So he's played in the last 2 seasons, 76 and 82 games respectively. You know what you're getting from him. He shoots 50% or over from the floor in 8 of his 9 seasons in the league. So he's efficient, like you said. He's a good free throw shooter. He could shoot the 3 when need be, and he's proved on it. Think about this for a second, and now you know how the NBA is changing. Everybody has to shoot threes, but Horford was averaging for his career like a half a 3 attempt a game. Last year he shot 3. For the first time in his career, he shot over 1. So this is a perfect fit, like you said, for Boston, who needed a spark in offense. And this is probably, to me, the 2nd best roster in the East. I still think Toronto can be better than them, but Boston has an opportunity to be the 2nd best team in the Eastern Conference with this signing.
Yeah, and the thing about Boston as well is they have a ton of young talent. So some of those guys are going to take a jump that you didn't expect, and that could definitely put them in that 2nd seed contention. What about the part – go ahead.
The thing I really like about Boston too is, they had a lot of rumors that they were going to, trade away one of the assets. And I kind of like that they've kept this core of Thomas, Bradley, and Crowder. Last year I feel like they surprised a lot of teams with how they played. And I think just adding another piece like Horford definitely just makes them more of a threat.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to face them in the playoffs because you're going to get a tough series. But let's talk about departures. They did lose Jared Sullinger and Evan Turner. Both these guys did play minutes for them. Who are they going to miss the most and why?
Evan Turner. I mean, Evan Turner can play 3 different positions. And I think that, that was crucial because I know last year Marcus Smart at times, he gets a little too happy with shooting the ball. And a guy like Evan Turner, could take over ball handling duties and make Marcus play more off ball. So I think that's going to be the one thing that kind of hurts them. But I know that they look for guys like Terry Rozier to have a really good year. He's played pretty well so far in preseason and stuff. So they're going to be okay, but I think Evan Turner definitely is a little bit of a hurt.
I don't think they really miss either of these guys. I mean, Evan Turner could hurt a little bit, but I think giving the opportunity for other guys to step in, this is one of my favorite backcourts in the NBA. I love what Isaiah Thomas has been able to do as Mr. Irrelevant, the 2011 last pick in the draft from Washington, and he's become an all-star in this league at 5'9". So his toughness, he's a guy you really like to root for. And then you got probably the best perimeter defender under 6'4" in the NBA in Avery Bradley at 6'2". So they start 2 guys under 6'2", which is probably the only team that does that in the NBA in the backcourt. And then mixing in like an RJ Hunter will have an impact this year. Like you mentioned, Rozier, Smart. They're loaded in the backcourt with athletic guys who could play both ends players. And so do they miss Turner offensively? I think so. But I think they have enough to make up for that, especially now that Horford is a better player than Sullinger. I think the balance of this roster is nice. I think Stevens will have them going north of 50 this year.
Yeah, you made a great point about Evan Turner. They'll miss him offensively, his playmaking. He found a nice niche in Boston, but they have young guys that can fill that role. Also, the upgrade of Horford over Sullinger makes up for that. And Horford kind of gives them a playmaker as well that they lost in Evan Turner. So I think they'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Better or worse season for the Celtics this year?
I think it's better. Last year, Horford was one of the guys that killed them last year in the first round of the playoffs, and now you have that guy on your team, so obviously that helps. I think they're going to be a better team than they were by last year, by at least 5-10 wins.
I'm going to agree with you, Kory. I think they'll probably get over 50 wins this season. They'll be a better team. You add a great all-around basketball player like Al Horford, it definitely has an impact on your win total.
Yeah, they're not a lot better, I don't think, because I still think this team is maybe a year or 2 away from championship contention. But I do think they're going to be better. I think this is one of the more obvious. This team's improving in the league. If you look around the league, you'll just see that this is one of those with the green arrow pointing up for Brad Stevens. And I've mentioned his name 3 or 4 times because he just gets the most out of guys. And you could tell, like, there are a few guys around the league, like, if you want to talk about Doc Rivers, maybe, even though he's had struggles in Los Angeles because he coached his Boston team, but Pop, Steve Kerr, now we mentioned in that realm, there are just certain coaches around the league, like Tom Thibodeau, but I think Stevens is in that category because of what he's been able to do with these young guys. So I'll also agree and say better.
You mentioned, that they're quite not there yet. They probably need one more player. Do you think they should let their team develop or try to make a trade, for a person like maybe DeMarcus Cousins or like a Jimmy Butler or something like that?
No, I would let this team develop and then see where I'm at, because obviously we're in a league today that's what do we have to do to defend? It's the Warriors or the Cavs. And so if you're in the West, you're looking at the Warriors, up at the Warriors, and if you're in the East, you're looking up at the Cavs. So you have to find a way to do something with LeBron. And they don't really have – I guess you could put like Crowder on him, but they don't really have like a great small forward. And there aren't a ton of them in the league, like Leonard, Durant, and after that, it's not like there are a ton of them. But I think you have to do something up front other than Horford to contend and be physical with the Cavs. We saw what Cleveland could do to people, and they did it to the Warriors. I think Cleveland can play small, but they would prefer – I think to bang you around with Thompson, Love, and LeBron and just go at you with size. And if you put up like Tristan Thompson is an underrated player that offsets a lot of things for them, and he's physical. So I think you let the Celtics, their young team, play out and see what happens. And I wouldn't mess with this right now. I would see it go through it on a year, try to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, or even just try to get to the semifinals because they have not been to the Eastern Conference semifinals since 2012. So I would let this play out and then go from there.
I mean, one thing to note is, I know there was rumors about them trying to get Blake Griffin possibly in a trade. I know that he has an option, I think, right, this upcoming season, or he's a free agent.
Yeah, he's a free agent next summer. Yeah.
Right. So, and that's one of the guys they've been targeting. So I wouldn't be surprised if they made a hard push for him and had him play the 4 and Horford at the center position either.
There are going to be a lot of teams going after Griffin.
100%.
Yeah.
But final prediction for the Boston Celtics this season.
51 wins. 51 wins. Yeah, I'm going with 51 wins.
Yeah, I'll go with like around 50 to 53 wins. Probably say it's tough. It's tough, this team. I think they'll get knocked out in the second round.
I'm going to go a little higher than that. I think like 53, 52, 53. I think they could pull off 5 more than last year, especially with Horford. I think he makes up for a few wins. You knock a guy like Turner out and give the defensive guys more minutes. I think they're going to be tough to beat. I think they're going to be very good at home. It's a really good home crowd when this team is good, and they saw that last year. They should have beat Golden State. They should have been the first team to beat Golden State. They lost them in double overtime, and their announcer almost had a heart attack. I don't know if you watch the Celtics on League Pass, but he is by far the most biased announcer in all of professional sports. I don't know if
I watched a lot of their games. He's horrid.
Yeah, it's real. It's almost like he's a fan that they let down there to cheer for the team. So it makes them very tough on League Pass. I don't know if you guys know that, like, there has to be an option now to watch. There is sometimes like the other team's broadcast. So anytime you're putting a Celtic game on, please do yourself a favor and put the other team's broadcast around. But they should have beat Golden State at home. So they're a tough home team. I'd say like 52, 53. And I think both them and the Raptors and Pacers, amongst a few other teams, have an opportunity to play the Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals.
What's a best case scenario for the Celtics? How far do you think they possibly could go?
Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, I wouldn't like. I'm not going to say they're going to definitely be in the Eastern Conference Finals, but I wouldn't be surprised if they got a 2 seed and end up playing the the Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals.
What about you, Harris?
LeBron getting injured? No, I'm just kidding. I would never want to see that happen, but LeBron is a freak of nature. But I think getting into the conference finals and pushing the Cavs, like the Raptors had it 2-2. I'd like to see somebody push them to 7, because over the last couple of years, no one's been able to get them to 7, I think. Or like the Pacers did it maybe once, that was what LeBron was with the Heat. But I think they swept the Hawks 2 years ago and then beat the Raptors in 6. I'd like to see somebody push them to 7. I think that's the best case scenario. Get into the finals with the Cavs and then hopefully push them.
Yeah, I mean, Avery Bradley hit a game winner last year against the Cavs.
Yeah, I think they play the Cavs.
This Cavs team is not this Cavs team is not the Heat. I think they're much more beatable than people are starting to make them out to be. Like, they won 57 last year, I think, or like 55 maybe. But this isn't a team that's going to play 82 straight and try to win 70 games. You know what they're going to do. I mean, they could be in the 60s, but this Celtics team can match up with them.
Especially defensively. Celtics are very good defensively, this squad.
Yeah.
I don't give them much of a chance, though, beating the Cavs in a 7-game
No,
series.
I don't either. They need another scorer.
Well, you guys are higher than the Cavs than I am, because I think Kevin Love can be exposed, but that's just my opinion. And I think that the Cavs, with down 3-1 in the finals, we'll talk about that as we go forward with the Cavs and Warriors preview. I think you could sit down and find ways to break the Cavs down, but that's a story for another day.
Yeah, for sure. But we'll save it for another show.
Yeah.
But are you going to watch the Celtics on League Pass this year?
Yeah, it's 100% going to watch them on League Pass.
Nets match up with them a lot, the same division, so I'll catch those games. Definitely catch them against the Warriors. Like Harris mentioned, they played the Warriors tough last year. They match up pretty well. And I want to see how Al Horford fits with this team and keep an eye on Jaylen Brown.
And now I'll tell a quick personal story. When I tried out for that D-League team, and the coach of the D-League team was on the Butler national title teams. And he used to work for the Celtics and is very close with Brad Stevens. Just tells me how things operate in Boston, how is it meticulous with detail? Is that the right word for it? How they operate on a daily basis. It's so detail oriented. So I have a lot of respect for Butler. I have a lot of respect for Stevens. So I'm going to be high on them. I'll watch them as much as I can. I have respect for teams that could balance the half-court D and also play out and get out. And they'll throw it to Isaiah. They'll throw it to Avery and let those two guys do what they do in the open floor. So this is one of those teams that defends, but they're also exciting. I know a lot of people didn't like those Pistons Spurs teams that scored like in the 80s in those finals in the mid 2000s, but this is one of those teams that's kind of exciting at the same time as decent defensively.
Yeah, Isaiah Thomas is fun to watch. Anytime like you see an undersized guy like that able to score like he does, you want to keep it on the game. But moving on to the truth, our emoji for the Celtics is the water splashing. Is this the year the Celtics finally make a splash in the postseason?
Yeah, I think it is. That's actually a really good emoji. This is definitely a year that I think you're going to see them go past the first round. You had a couple bad years when you were rebuilding, and now it's finally looking good for Boston.
Yeah, the NBA agrees. They're on ESPN and ABC several times, almost 30 nationally televised games. Like I've said, you guys have heard me say this for the last month. When Boston, LA, and New York are good, it's better for the league. And now that the Celtics look like they're headed back in the right direction, both of their games with Golden State are on television. New York, they'll play on ESPN. So this is definitely a team that people want to watch, and they will make that splash. And I think they will be very entertaining come April, May, and possibly even June.
Yeah, definitely. So keep an eye on the Celtics this season, but that wraps it up for the Celtics preview. On to the next one. Thanks for joining us, Kory, and great show, Harris, and thanks everybody for listening.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you again, OTG Basketball on the website, and appreciate all the support from all of our writers and everybody out there that's giving us the listens. Have a good night.